What's the most disturbing test your family put your partner through? My family has this sick rule where every partner must spend an entire weekend alone with your first love before marriage so they can make an informed choice about who they really want. My grandmother invented it after marrying her second choice and spending 40 miserable years wondering about the one who got away. My parents swear by it because my father chose my mother after his weekend with his high school girlfriend proved she was the right decision. Every marriage in our family supposedly validates this twisted tradition, and they all act like it's perfectly normal to loan your fiancé to your ex for 3 days. When I proposed to Tulip, I knew what was coming and begged them to skip it this time, but my mother had already called Callie before I even bought the ring. The way my family obsessed over Callie had always been deeply weird, like they were grieving something that should have been. Such a shame how things ended, my aunt would whisper at every holiday while staring at Tulip like she was trespassing. Callie and I dated for 2 years in high school before she vanished senior year without explanation, leaving me destroyed. My family stayed creepily close to her though, and kept inviting her to everything, even after I'd been with Tulip for 4 years. She's practically family, my mother would say with this knowing smile that made my skin crawl. The weekend arrived and Callie looked exactly the same, except for something desperate in her eyes that hadn't been there before. My mother drove them to our family cabin herself while making comments about second chances and destiny that made Tulip's hands shake as she hugged me goodbye. Some connections transcend time, my mother said, while loading their bags, and Callie wouldn't meet my eyes. That first night I stayed at my parents' house because they insisted I needed support, but really they wanted to monitor me while pushing wine and asking if I remembered how happy Callie made me. She still talks about you, my cousin mentioned casually, like she hadn't just admitted they all stayed in regular contact with my ex. Saturday morning, my father made this weird comment about keeping bloodlines pure that everyone laughed at, but something in his eyes wasn't joking. By Saturday afternoon, I was losing my mind, and my mother kept saying things like, true love always finds its way home, while showing me old photos of Callie at family gatherings. I didn't even remember her attending. When my aunt let slip that Callie had been asking about our family medical history, my mother shut her down fast, saying, she's just being thorough, but her voice had an edge that made my stomach turn. I finally snapped Saturday night and drove to the cabin, despite everyone trying to physically stop me, because something felt dangerously wrong about this whole situation. Tulip was sitting on the porch with her bags packed and her face completely white, while Callie stood in the doorway sobbing uncontrollably. We're leaving right now, Tulip said, in a voice I'd never heard, and when I asked what happened, she just kept repeating that we needed to go immediately. The drive home was silent, except for Tulip's ragged breathing, and when we got to our apartment, she exploded with information that destroyed my entire reality. Callie is your half-sister, she said, and my brain couldn't process the words until she explained how Callie had broken down and confessed everything about why she really disappeared senior year. My father had an affair with Callie's mother 18 years before I was born, and Callie was the result, but nobody knew until her mother's deathbed confession 7 years ago. Your family has known for 7 years that she's your biological half-sister, and they still pushed you together in high school, and they still wanted you to end up with her, and they made me spend a weekend looking at photo albums of you two kissing while knowing you shared DNA. I called my mother while vomiting, and her response was worse than anything I could have imagined. Love doesn't follow society's rules, she said calmly, like we were discussing pizza toppings instead of incest. You and Callie were meant to be together before anyone knew the truth, and that connection doesn't just disappear because of genetics. When I asked if she was completely insane, she told me that royal families had been doing this for centuries, and that I was being dramatic about something natural. Callie understands that your bond transcends conventional boundaries, she continued, while I dry heaved into the sink. My father took the phone and confirmed he knew Callie was his daughter the entire time we dated, and thought it was poetic that his children had found each other. You could have been happy if you just let yourself, he said, like I was the problem for not wanting to marry my sister. This is why we never liked Tulip, my mother added when I threatened to call the police. She was keeping you from your destiny with Callie. I told them they were all sick, and that I was done with every single one of them forever. You're making a mistake, my father said with disappointment, like I was choosing the wrong college major. Family bonds are the strongest bonds, my mother added, and I realized she meant it in the worst possible way. I haven't spoken to any of them in 3 years, and Tulip left me 6 months after the cabin incident.